Part 2 of my winter break episode starts with me dropping off the bumper at the paint shop and returning the wrong engine cover to the Porsche specialist. But it is packed with other small but essential modifications that will hugely improve the function and aesthetics of various parts. In part 1, I presented you the completely shot bottom parts of the front bumper, which I didn't believe anyone could bring back to life, but like you saw in the opening sequence of this video, the paint shop showed me dead wrong. As promised, I picked up the bumper from the paint shop and the result left me speechless. To be honest, I did expect this quality from the bumper, but they definitely upped their game with how those bottom parts came out. They look better than new. I also test fitted the new grille and got to clean the upper seal. With the aesthetics of the front bumper sorted, I still had to figure out a way to delete the headlight washout system. I decided it would be best to remove the pump entirely and not leave any disconnected devices hidden away behind the front bumper. On the other hand, this meant that I would need to plug the hole in which the pump sat, adding another checkpoint on my ongoing list of things to do. A seemingly forgotten topic with 964s and 993s are phone mounts. From the start, I chose the Renline magnetic phone mount that grips around the clock on the dash and raises the phone right into your line of sight. Unfortunately, with recent phones, the magnet now sits in the inner ring of said MagSafe area and doesn't grip on the phone. I couldn't find any fitting plug-and-play solutions for the mount I already had, so I wanted to build my own. Hoping for the pivots to be universal size, I ordered a new MagSafe ready mount and had planned to simply swap them over. As you might have foreseen based on the ironic tone in my voice, they obviously didn't fit. I didn't want to give up on the idea that easily though, and thought maybe it would be time to introduce myself to the world of 3D printers, since it seems to be the new problem solver. I got on the computer, chose a 3D software that fulfilled my needs, and dove straight into designing said needed part. After more or less 3 hours of tutorials and trial and error, this is the result. A 15mm sphere on an extended, rounded neck with an M5 thread inside. The first printed results were not pretty, but we were getting there. 5 attempts later, and we finally got this very pretty example which has been printed upright. It sat nicely in the mount, had a strong grip on the knob, and seemed to be the solution. To my surprise, mounting it to the main support proved that the screw has weakened the top part of the sphere, and even with very little force, the knob snapped right about the end of the thread. Back to the drawing board. We thought that the structure would be much stronger with the knob being printed flat on the ground, which proved to be right. The final prototype is now nicely gripping on the mount, and even with the phone stuck to the ring, it sits very tight. For now, I shall call this a success. With the phone mount optimistically ticked off my list, I moved on to removing the AC control unit in order to have it sent over to a specialist in Munich to get it refurbished together with the clock. I'm really looking forward to seeing if the costly manipulation will reflect in augmented comfort as for the AC and less of a headache with the mainly wrong warning signals on the clock. At this point, I recall my growing checklist because while removing the clock, I realized a sheared off cable used to set the time on the quartz clock with a button sitting right below it. Considering how tucked in the connector of the cable is, I have to see how I'm going to weld both ends back together. With the temporary head unit borrowed off my Mark II Golf, I had to order the universal adapter to go between the radio and the standard black and brown connectors. While taking out the speakers from the door panels, realizing there are no cables connected to them, it hit me like a strike. During my first videos, I disassembled the door cards and had these huge mystery boxes removed. They were rattling inside the door, and since I didn't plan on having a stereo system fitted to the car anytime soon, I removed them entirely. It didn't take long though for me to realize that without these, the head unit would not be able to communicate with the speakers, so they need to go back in. The sizes of the shoes between the cables made allocating the fitting male to its opposite female very easy, and the groove on the door card depicting the exact shape of the mystery boxes clearly showed where they should be sitting. And just like that, connecting the cables to my speakers took a bigger turn. I disassembled the doors almost completely in order to find the perfect routing for the cables. I had to modify the door cards, drill a hole to let the cable disappear and exit their respective speakers. With the radio now connected, the battery turned on and the ignition switched to position 1, the radio turned on and I could hear a static noise. Brilliant. Considering how much respect I have when it comes to electrics, cables and hi-fi stuff, I have to admit that this was a very straightforward job. With the interior now waiting for the sent-off parts to go back in, I turned my attention to the thing that needed to be sorted behind the front bumper. Remember when I was talking about the plug that I needed to design and 3D print to fill the hole for the washer fluid pump? Well, here it is. And apart from needing a quick sand down to smoothen down the surface, at least not so very pretty rich, it could go straight into the tank. Since the plug was in there very tightly, I didn't hesitate and filled the tank with fluid right away. So far, there is no leak, but I don't know what would cause it to be leaking in the future. Mark my words. With the bumper removed and a longer search through my parts arsenal, I found a box that was tucked away for that one occasion. Yes, I had almost given up on it, but I found a magnet license plate mounting kit which I purchased many years ago. With the hippo's face so beautifully cleaned, it would be a shame to never see it this clean ever again, especially for photos, videos, or the several events I'm planning to attend. I've been thinking a lot about whether I should go with the old silver look for this season and install the white indicators. Seeing the clean bumper mounted to the car with orange indicators made me go back to the 2025 look without much hesitation though. They go so well with the light color and it makes it look much more old school. In the meantime, I secretly purchased something that could possibly look very cool on my car. A fiberglass front lip that came straight from Switzerland. I still can't get my head around what the inspiration for this lip is, but it could be a good compromise between a roof lip and those far too fancy 993 GT2 lips. It is advertised as a Porsche 964 RS Cup lip, but it hasn't got any labels on it. The plan is to get it painted the same color and structure as the lower OEM parts of the bumper, but more on that in the next episode. Another topic that will be addressed in the next episode, you guessed it, a problem with my AC. More precisely, a blocking mechanism that prevents the air from being directed to the front window or the big central vent. Since I completely rebuilt the heater box, the flap was not working and I blamed the servo for it. After a lot of testing, I could reduce the list of possible causes to said blocking mechanism. The knob is only moving about 1/4 of a turn and it is very hard to operate even by hand. It is very hard to get a view inside, so I'm hoping for an endoscope camera to help me out on this. I have a bad feeling though that this problem will end up with me having to take the entire fuel tank and heater box out once again. Yeah, stay tuned.